Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Daily Wolves episode. It's Will here, and as always, I'm joined by Chris.
Hey Wolves fans, happy Thursday, and it is a happy Thursday, kind of.
Yeah, I nearly said happy Thursday then. I thought I'd let you have it this time.
Yeah, you can't steal my thing, Will. It's my thing. Every day is a happy day. I feel like, I don't know if I say it just because then hopefully I'm like willing it into existence that it's going to be a happy day.
Well, I think today we do have just reasoning for it. I mean, we come off the back of watching Wolves win a game for the first time this season.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep, 2-0 at home to Burnley last night.
Yep, that's it. Now glory awaits all season. Premiership title. Here we come.
Yes.
It's all done now.
But I mean, what were your general thoughts on the game? You know, what stood out for you?
Wow, I think there's a few things that stood out. One is obviously the lineup, the selection, because we discussed possibilities. Mm-hmm. The fact that in the end there was, is it like 10 changes because the only starter was Ait-Nouri that kept his spot. Now, arguably, he's like the only kind of positional left back right now with Breno going out on loan, but also is there an element of you need practice mate at that position?
I was going to say, I think it was almost not a punishment, but if he had performed better against Chelsea, I don't think we'd have seen him for 90 minutes.
I feel like there was an element of...
minutes, was it?
Yeah, sorry, I went over you there, but I feel like there was an element of, okay, I'm telling you what to do, you need to cover that spot more, and let's see what you can do. And to be fair to him, he was better defensively. I know it's a different element of competition to what we've had the last two games, but you can only do what's in front of you. Burnley are going to be competing at the top end of the Championship, obviously not that long out of the Premiership, and whilst they made rotations of their own, it's still a decent practice run for Ait-Nouri in that spot to get more experience. So that was interesting. But still a strong lineup because we do have quality mixed in at different spots. So I was quite happy to see all the different names on the team sheet.
Yeah.
And things that stood out to me, I mean, we could go on. I think everyone played. There was no real bad performances, I don't think.
No.
The star boy that I was most interested in seeing, and I said to you yesterday, I think that I was really interested in seeing was Pedro Lima.
Mm-hmm.
The Wonder Kid did not let me down. And to shout out some stats that I picked up on him this morning. So 90 minutes, 1 assist, which was beautiful. Obviously helped with the clean sheet. 2 chances created, 5 of 6 tackles won, 9 ball recoveries, 8 of 9 duels won. He looked good at both ends of the pitch, pretty much. And he was pushing like so high up. He was like a natural born winger because yes, he's playing right back, but if you noticed, he was like always on the touchline and always pushing up, like wanting to get forward.
I have to say that was our issue with Ait-Nouri on the weekend, but no, it was great to watch. It was the fact that he's only just turned 18 as well, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So it certainly looks bright for him going forwards. The quality's more than there.
Yeah, and I know we'll touch on the goals, but I mean, his assist for the first goal, whilst I think Guedes kind of got a little bit lucky with the finish because he was almost tumbling into it.
Yeah.
But Pedro Lima, he takes a quick look up as the great ball from Dawson to play him through. And then he doesn't take a touch. It's like immediate cross. He just looks up as he's running onto the ball and whips it in straight away. There's no touch. It's a first time cross. And it's great to see that because it was just so many times we cut back or we delay and we overplay.
Yeah.
But he was just, I've seen that someone's making the run and I'm just going to whip it straight in there.
Yeah, no, he looked direct, didn't he? And, I'm going to want to speak about someone else who started in the defence.
Yeah, well, I was going to go there, but I feel like no, that's your boy, so you can go there.
I just sort of love him. I think I don't know why.
For anyone new, who are you referring to?
Santiago Bueno, of course, solid as a rock. Didn't put a foot wrong. Looked very assured on the ball, especially against a side with all respects like Burnley. Although you might find have a bit more time on the ball because of the golfing quality between that and the Premier League. they're still a very robust outfit, no matter what division they're in. You know what you're going to get, and I think he looked nice and assured when he was put under pressure. And I really like the look of him and Dawson together. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll see that partnership start. It will be one of the two alongside Mosquera this weekend, and I do think it will be Dawson, which I'm not unhappy about. But again, I think whenever we have seen him in these sort of brief cameos that he makes for us during the seasons, I think Bueno's looks very, very calm and assured.
Yeah, I think both centre backs last night gave, like, to be fair, there was several players across the team who are obviously either fighting for a spot and giving it an opportunity to shine, to like put me in because we're losing. Let me have a go. In terms of, the season as a whole.
Yeah.
And then there's players obviously potentially still in the shop window as well, which we can touch on. But so it was interesting. I think Santiago Bueno, I think he had a great game. He was actually involved in the build up to the second in terms of, because it was him pressuring the attacker out of possession, like ushering out of the penalty area and winning the ball back quickly.
And then starting it from defence into attack. Yeah.
And so he got, because I saw Bentley, when the goal was scored, Bentley went to him and I was going to
make that exact point. I'm glad you saw that, and I hope you had me in mind.
I did
whilst you were watching that.
But there was a few times, he's aggressive in terms of wanting to get the ball back. He hounds people. I'd rather, for example, there was a point in the second half, I think it was, where there's a chance for, we've obviously had lots of the ball, we're kind of pinning them back into their half, and as they break, he wins the ball back near the halfway, or is trying to win the ball back near the halfway line, and he ends up giving away a free kick. But the point is, the counter is stopped. The counter is stopped early because he was there to intercede and didn't let them get away with it.
There's nothing wrong with the foul on the halfway line. That's what I'll always say.
No. And I don't even think it was, because it was just pressure. It was just pressure.
Yeah, I remember at the time thinking it was soft, but again, I'm the same as you. It's the fact that he was there to do that job.
But yeah, he covered himself with glory. I think him and Dawson both did. Dawson, when they were having fun in the second half, and Dawson's like in the opposing box, drops the shoulder, shimmies past someone, and the crowd's going crazy, and then he just lets the ball roll out off the touchline and has a wry smile. But it was, I think they both did well.
It does beg the question. I know we'll speak about potential transfers later on. Do we need a centre half?
It does bode the question, and it also bodes the question of, I think, Gary O'Neill, and I hope some of the journalists soon, if they're not already asking the question, ask the question, why is he not getting more game time? Like, why is he constantly ruled out? What is wrong with Santiago Bueno? Because there's got to be a reason. We've said that we believe it's the athleticism, potentially the speed on foot of the likes of Totti and Mosquera, but Totti's arguably coming across now as the weakest centre-back in a back four. I think you're right. I think potentially Dawson could come in alongside Mosquera for the experience to help just solidify that back four at the weekend. But I think Santi should be getting more game time. And if we're going to get onto it with transfers, because now that's going to get me down a whole different rabbit hole.
Yeah, before we get onto those stories, Chris, I'm sure you know what I'm about to say now. I'd like to ask the listeners, do you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear? Have you struggled with reaching new audiences who are engaged with your story? It might be time for you to start a podcast. Let me tell you about a platform we use here at the Global Sports Podcast Network. Zencastr makes it easy to start a high-quality podcast built for growth from day one. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes ums, ahs, you knows, and 22 other speech patterns, Zencastr makes it super easy to start a podcast that sounds great. Ready to tell your story? Check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Before we move on to other topics, can I just say in regards to more stuff from a few more bits from last night's game? So I've obviously, as I say, I think everyone put themselves in a little bit of limelight. Chiquinho, very direct, very attacking, constantly pushing, like driving at players. He looks very impressive. I've already mentioned Pedro Lima. Doyle, I thought, was everywhere. And he does remind me, and I'm not putting him there with Neves, but I think he's in that same mold as of the way that he's always looking up and trying to play in the long balls to play people in. If you get where I'm going with that, in terms of that he's more of that sits deep and wants to put balls in over the top or through to people. Do you get where I'm going with that?
I do, but you've reminded me of him.
I'm sorry, Will, but you get
because it was a happy Thursday until now.
I'm sorry, but I think he's that mold. He wants to be in that kind of role.
Very good.
He's always looking up and always looking to get a forward pass.
Yeah, very creative. Loves a through ball and loves to look for it as well. Yeah. I think that's there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
He is very, very, very good.
Boubacar Traore, I thought was okay. I didn't think I thought he was just probably doing as he's meant to do, the engine work. He didn't necessarily stand out, but he was getting himself stuck in. It's a shame that he picked up an injury and had to go off early.
Yeah.
According to Gary O'Neill afterwards, said that he picked up some pain in his knee. It's too early to say how serious it is, but given that he immediately sat down and was signaling for the substitution, because you could see the hand gesture, I'm not holding out much hope.
No, and as he went off, I saw him tuck his head into his shirt, sort of thing. Obviously in some pain, and there's definitely some sort of upset from him in that respect. So it didn't look good.
No, it doesn't look good.
Hopefully, it's just not too serious.
No. And what's ironic, though, is apparently in the last 48 hours, we rejected a 15 million bid for him from a French club. And so it's ironic that he then gets injured.
Yeah, that's when it started to stand out to me that surely we can't be skint. Because if so, I mean, I like Traore, but how much, game time has he had recently, since he's signed? It's not a lot. And so to reject that amount for a player who is very much a squad player at the moment, if you were skint, you would accept that offer. It's that simple.
Yeah, yeah. And before we get onto the squad, the finances of what also makes it look like we've got more money to spend, and people that we'll touch on in that thing, in terms of this 2-0 victory over Burnley, two integral players to the whole game, Guedes and Podence. Now, a year ago to 2 years ago, we would not be sat here thinking that they would ever be part of this team again. I mean, particularly Guedes, who was an outcast and most people never wanted to see in a Wolves shirt again. Last night, phenomenal, 2 goals. I mean, the finish on the second one is fantastic because he's got a long way to run. For anyone that hasn't seen it, it's a beautiful goal. As you mentioned, Santi wins the ball back, gets it out quickly. Podence with a brilliant through ball to play him in. And because he's in his own half, he's not offside and then runs half the length of the pitch. And there's a lot of opportunities in those moments to overthink, to think which way am I going to put it and fluff it. But in the end, it was a beautiful finish as he chips it over the Burnley keeper, who made 2 incredible saves in the first half.
Yeah,
because Pedro Lima could have got his first home goal, hits the post for the brilliant second save. And so I'm just sat here thinking, what is going on with Guedes and Podence? I don't want them to go at this point, but there's rumours that Podence, there's an offer coming from Al-Shabaab from Saudi Arabia. So that's still up in the air. In his press conference afterwards, Gary O'Neill did say that he hopes that, or he expects and hopes both players to still be with Wolves at the end of the transfer window, which is interesting. And the Al-Shabaab offer can't be as far along. I mean, if Podence is playing in last night's game, then it's definitely not at the point of completion because he wouldn't be playing.
But I'm pretty sure in the Saudi league, their transfer window is open a bit later than ours is.
It is open later, which is concerning.
I have to say, I still can't see either of them staying and playing a big part in the season at Molineux. I just can't see it. I know Guedes got his 2 goals. I still question his commitment off the ball. And I know it's only sort of the Carabao Cup to Burnley, but I think you look at, say, Doyle being everywhere, Pedro Lima up and down. Those are the characteristics I want to look for. I still think he did well, obviously. I'm not complaining he scored 2 goals, but I just think with that in mind, as well as previous shenanigans, I'd be very, very surprised if they were to play a big part.
Yeah, I think
In
my
the
biggest thing
upcoming
is I just
season.
don't want to see too many more departures.
Yeah, yeah.
And I want the squad depth. And I think Gary O'Neill is clearly making him do things that seem happier than he did before. And if he's able to come off the bench at some point and help score more goals or create more goals, then I'm all for it. And Podence particularly, I mean, some of the ways he was interacting and creating runs for other people with little backflip, like he draws a player in.
Yeah.
And then plays it behind him to an overlapping player, and he just cuts people out of the game.
I remember him attempting it in the first half in our own half and giving it away, and then gave it away twice, doing it in our half to them to go on the attack. And I just thought some things never change.
Yeah,
but then but it's one of those when it pays off. It pays off big time, doesn't it?
It does. But overall, I'm happy. I'm happy with the performance. I'm happy that a lot of these players got a chance to show Gary O'Neill what they can do. And also some of the experienced players did come off the bench later in the game to get a few more minutes and to just rotate. But I am very curious about who's going to be in the back line at the weekend. Yeah. Should we say before we move on to actually the transfers and stuff, who we're going to be playing in the next round? Because they did make the draw for the next round.
Yes, go for it. Well, what I am going to say is we could have had, it's going to be on a Tuesday night again, isn't it? Something like that. We could have had Stoke or Walsall were there towards our end of the draw. But instead, Chris, who did we get?
Yeah, so if you missed it, the draw has been made for the third round, and Wolves have been drawn away to Brighton in the third round of the Carabao Cup.
Yeah.
You have to say that. Is it sad of me? Is it wrong of me to say I feel like that's our run over? Because we have such a bad record against them recently, particularly away. I mean, and obviously they'll rotate as well, so you never know. It could be anyone's game.
Did we not beat them in the cup last season? I don't know if it was FA Cup or Carabao Cup.
I think we did in the cup, but I'm just thinking league form in my head. We normally get slammed at them, but then they do rotate. They rotate quite vastly in the League Cup. I'm going to call it the League Cup because I just think to me it's the League Cup. But anyway, I think, and it's a shame we don't have someone like Walsall or the magic of all these cups is the difference in the different league positions. And so I think it's a shame that so early in the competition we're going up against Brighton. But what can you do?
Well, we'll see. I'm still confident for it. It's just a, it's not the most ideal draw for logistical and practical reasons. But yeah, I think it's about time we moved on to the latest transfer news.
Yes. It's all going on.
First of all, Chris, if you'd like to tell us about the two players who are now loanees, who we've sent out.
So, yeah, we have sent two of our younger players to Huddersfield Town on loan. Joe Hodge, who was on the fringes and had been apparently impressive in camp, but obviously with some of the incomings we're going to talk about and also just the depth of the midfielders at the moment, because I think that's one area we're pretty strong in. He was always going to be limited for game time.
Some would say we don't need to focus on signing midfielders.
No, I know, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so Joe Hodge was always going to be limited for game time, so good for him to go out on loan to the Championship again. And Nigel, I always get the surname wrong.
Lewoniuk. That's that.
Nigel Lewoniuk.
I can't say it again. That was the first time. It's definitely wrong as well. So,
yeah, one of the youngsters going out on loan again to get experience. So that's all good. I'm happy for them to go and improve and be better and build their value. All good.
Yeah.
Are we going on to incomings?
I was going to say, as for incomings, I'll start off with the exciting news that we've had the Fabrizio Romano here we go for Sam Johnston for 10 million. But there's no imminent move for Jose Sarr as of yet.
Yeah, so by all accounts...
what? It just doesn't make sense. But you'd like to think, well, in that case, Sarr has to be going.
Well,
because why would you sign...
Sorry, this is the confusing thing. So, Sam Johnston, £10 million to Wolves. So firstly, as we get onto another incoming in a moment, clearly the rumours going around recently that 20 million was all we've got. This false, because we're about to break that with 2 incomings alone. Sam Johnson, 10 million. Apparently the medical was completed yesterday, as we're recording this on Thursday the 29th. So that is literally almost signed, sealed, and delivered. And it is going to throw so many questions into the mix that we are already sat here flabbergasted about in terms of what does this mean? Who's going to be the number one? For £10 million, I can't see him coming in just to sit on the bench.
No, not at all.
So what is happening?
Yeah, well, I think Sarr must be off. I've heard as well, I've read before that none of O'Neill's coaching staff or O'Neill himself particularly rate Sarr that highly. That's the sort of that's what I've heard about it. I think it's harsh, and I don't think Johnston's the best we could have done if we were going to replace him. And the one thing I don't understand is if that was all the case, you've had all pre-season to get that sorted, because you know, it's not as if Sarr's a new player and we've taken a gamble. He's been our starting goalkeeper for the past few seasons, so I just don't get why it would be left this late. I just don't get it. But I don't particularly mind Johnston. Like I said, I don't think he's a necessarily bad goalkeeper. I just think we should be aiming higher than that, and especially for £10 million worth.
Yeah, I think he's going to be perfectly proficient. Clearly, the club do too for that much money, like you say. But whatever people think of Aaron Ramsdale, I think he would have been an upgrade on Sam Johnston. So it's a little bit confusing. But we are expecting something to happen with Jose Sarr in the next few days before the transfer deadline.
Yeah. And before, Chris, I'll give you the honours of telling us all about the big news story coming out of the transfer world today. But before we get to that, it's just a quick reminder that this podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day. But yes, Chris, go ahead. Do the honours. Tell us the biggest transfer story surrounding Wolves.
I will. And before I do that, I'm also going to warn you that we are definitely going to run over a couple of minutes because I've got a rant burning in my head that we're running out of time for.
Look, the floor is yours. Go for it.
Okay. Well, first of all, the next pretty much happening set in stone thing is Andre, from Brazilian midfielder from Fluminense, I always get that pronunciation wrong as well, is literally apparently on a plane as we speak, on their way for medicals and testing and all that stuff, for reportedly 25 million euros, including bonuses and stuff like that. Apparently, the club his club are also pushing to try and get a 10% sell-on clause, so there's some stuff to be finalised there, but all the personal terms apparently agreed, and they are on their way. They are, for anyone that doesn't know them, apparently very much in a similar mould to João Gomez. Defensive, hardcore, tackling machine, runs rabid across the pitch.
Another
pit bull.
Yeah, a robust South American aggressive defensive midfielder. You sort of know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
by that
and obviously we've been big in the South American market the last couple of seasons. Another Brazilian coming in. The question you referred to earlier is it's another midfielder, when lots of people would argue that that's not where we really are dire for people right now, because we've got some solid midfielders. And also it did scare people into thinking, well, does this mean we're losing someone? When I say someone, most people would fear João Gomez because of all the interest from there has been, lots of, as the newspapers do, reporting all the interest from the likes of Spurs, Man U, and everyone in João Gomez across the summer. Wolves have literally come out and categorically said, via questions from various reporters on this news about Andre, that João Gomez is not going anywhere, and it would take an astronomical fee to part with them.
The one thing is for sure, I don't think it'll be Gomez. I think we just won't entertain that, but we will need to sell one of our foreign players to be able to register Andre. Whether or not that be Sarr going, or we've mentioned interest from Saudi Arabia for Podence, one of them has to go for him to come in and be registered. But I don't think it will be an issue. I think
we'll see. I need to double check the ages because I don't believe Pedro Lima counts because he's so young. I don't think he counts.
Right. Okay.
For anyone that's not aware, the amount of international players you're allowed to have in relation to homegrown players.
Right.
I think because he's so young, he's not classed in that category, but we can double check that.
Yeah.
But my concern, what do you are you happy that if we don't lose someone, are you happy with Andre coming in?
Yeah, why not? Again, my only thing is surely a centre half is needed, but I think if you sign, like I said, that Muepiu was in the stands watching the game, young kid coming in. If you're relying on Bueno and Dawson in the back four, I think it's risky, but they're better than Totti would be if that's the route you want to go down. So it's fine by me. It shows ambition and gives us a bit more quality to hopefully kick on this season and change the negative start that we have had.
Yeah, and if you think that's 10 million for Sam Johnston from Crystal Palace, reportedly 25 million euros for Andre, plus additions later on, that is already beyond the budget that people were talking about a week or so ago, that we were concerned about, that we discussed. So already that is being put to bed in terms of the limits. So interesting, were they just paying down the fact that they've got more money, as always, is good. But then are we going to see a sudden outflux of players? We mentioned Podence potentially going to Saudi Arabia. That window is open a lot longer. So we could still see, like you say, Guedes go. So a lot still to happen.
Yeah.
However, the thing I want to get to,
go for it,
is the post-match conference last night from Gary O'Neill. As I mentioned, he did say that he hopes or expects Guedes and Podence to stay. We shall see if that remains true.
Take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, but the thing that is upsetting me is two particular sentences. The first one being where he states, "The way we're playing doesn't suit the group as I potentially thought it would, so I need to find a structure and a system that suits us."
Right.
I mean, just let that settle in. And then the second part of the sentence of this is, "We've still got restrictions that other clubs don't. Things are proving tough for players that are moving for fees we can't match." So there's like double whammies here, because that doesn't mix with some of the stuff we're seeing in the last 24 hours of players coming in with the money that's being spent. But then again, we dropped out of Aaron Ramsdale for the money. We dropped out of, and I believe that was partly around Arsenal's fee and also his personal terms. We've dropped out of Dara O'Shea because we undervalued and didn't agree. Yeah,
and Wissa before both of those as well.
Yep. So clearly, I think some of it is also around the pay structure, because Wolves don't like to go beyond a certain pay structure, and they're trying to keep that thing balanced. However, that's concerning, and it doesn't correlate with some of the stuff we're seeing coming in the last 24 hours.
No.
But then that first part, this is what's bugging me. We speak about the back four, and people argue about the back four and the back five. He's had all pre-season with these players, regardless of who comes in or who does not, to say the way we are playing doesn't suit the group as I potentially thought it would, so I need to find a structure and a system that suits us. When we are 2 games into the season and he's had an entire pre-season with these players, for him to say that scares me. That scares me, Will, and that also makes me think, is he starting to think what we've all seen the last few seasons, and every manager has seen for the last few seasons, that he wanted to do the back four, and suddenly he thinks once again it's not going to work? And if that's the case, why did it take you this long?
Yeah.
Like, where is I'm flummoxed. What is he? I'm scared.
No, I think, to be honest, Chris, I could have told everyone that, one game in, or before the first game in, really. So I don't think it's news as such. I understand why it's not ideal to hear our manager say that, but is it more of a dig again at the hint of an idea of us needing a centre half? Is that him again speaking out? Or is he going to do what I suggested in the last episode of you've got to work with the players you've got? A back five is going to suit them more than a back four.
Potentially, yeah. All these things, whichever way, whether you're saying it's him trying to speak subtly to the club about I need a different centre back, or whether it's thinking about reverting to a back five.
Yeah.
To me, that's all concerning, no matter which way you look at it. For the manager to say that after we've just won 2-0 with a rotated squad, and then also to be highlighting that he doesn't think that the play style is matching when he's had all preseason with these players to think about how to get the best from them. Because when you haven't got the players that you're hoping will come in, you have to work with what you've got.
Yeah.
And so for him to already be working with these players and then say that's I surely can't be alone in thinking I'm slightly scared to hear my manager, our manager. I call him my manager because we are born and bred Wolves fans, and I think of it as my club and my manager. And I've got great, don't get me wrong, I'm not chucking O'Neill out. I don't want him gone. I think he's still great, but I'm also slightly scared that the manager is coming out and saying that when the season has started, to be thinking that out loud in a press conference and say that he doesn't think it's working.
Yeah, I agree with you. It just doesn't surprise me one bit. It just begs the question of, it's like I said about the Johnston thing. If they were always after a new goalkeeper, why leave it until now? If the structure wasn't good enough if the players weren't good enough for his structure, why leave it until now?
Mm-hmm.
If you needed better players to make to be able to play his style of football, why leave it until now? There's so many things, and I think if we were to go down this route and continue ranting about them, I think we'd still be sat here recording when our next episode's due out as well, because I agree with you.
That's fine with me.
It's just confusing, as always, but it just doesn't surprise me at all.
No, nothing surprises me with Wolves nowadays. I mean, I say that I am, but, we're used to the roller coaster that is Wolverhampton Wanderers. I'm sure all of you out there are as well. I at least am looking forward to the fact that we have some players incoming, regardless of whether it's making more confusion. It's just more additions. I'm just really curious to see how this last part of the window is going to play out. And I'm going to try and focus on the positives. And while the back half of my brain is going to keep rattling around that press conference with confusion, I am going to think, I'm going to go dream about Pedro Lima and just enjoy the fact that my young wonder kid did amazing, and your Santi Bueno love continues at a high. And we saw a 2-0 victory and it was a good game. I enjoyed it, and there was some good performances.
Exactly.
So I'm interested to see who has forced their way into the lineup this weekend.
I really hope it's Santi. It's not going to be. It's not going to be. But I think that summed it up nicely. We'll finish on a high, and we'll be back again tomorrow to preview our Forest fixture on the weekend.
We normally do, just to summarise, we normally, for anyone that's on the schedule, we normally do a crossover on a Thursday. Obviously, the midweek game with Burnley means we've had to shift the schedule slightly this week, and so tomorrow is our forecast for the weekend. So everything's slightly different on a midweek game.
Yeah, we have to take it as it comes here, doing daily uploads. We'll be back again tomorrow.
Take care.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.